Okay, a lot of balls in the air, a lot of stuff happening, and maybe it looks bleak, but guess what? Miracles have a habit of following this president around. It may take a miracle. Look, I still have confidence. Maybe I'm hopeful, but stranger things have happened, huh? Or maybe they haven't, but I think we're due. I'm just really happy to start hearing from some people, after all those cries of no evidence, they're stepping forward and they're telling their story. These stories are cumbersome sometimes, and they don't fit into neat little boxes. The media, by the way, they're not terribly good at telling complex stories, and they're not interested in telling this one. So it's a bit of a challenge to report on all this stuff. You'll remember, though, when they had witnesses coming forward against Donald Trump. Remember, during impeachment, during the Russia hoax, they were celebrated. They're still dining out on what they did before Congress. Remember, wall-to-wall hearings, right? On all the networks. Here's a portion.
The American people have heard the testimony of truly patriotic career public servants.
I have no interest in advancing the outcome of your inquiry in any particular direction except toward the truth.
They were glorified, celebrated, put on the covers of magazines. Why do you think they did that? You know what had little something to do with it? Not only were they anti-Trump, but class. These are folks from elite universities, and they talk in a certain way, and they operate at the highest levels of government, and they are embraced, or were embraced, by the mainstream media. The folks you heard from today, no, they're nothing to see here. They're just ordinary people. Ordinary people usually have the most amazing stories to tell. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not. But I do know that our government has let us down many, many times, and they're letting us down right now. Was Richard Jewell conspiracy theory? What happened to him? It was a conspiracy theory what they had against him. Richard Jewell. They said he bombed the Olympics in Atlanta in 1996. The FBI ruined this guy's life for a time. Look at the media. They were along for the ride, hurting this man. Ultimately, totally exonerated, had absolutely nothing to do with it, except that he helped people that night, that he helped save lives. How about Steve Hatfill? Remember that name? Remember the anthrax mailer, the anthrax attacks after 9/11? The FBI thought it was this guy, and so did the media. They hounded him night and day for a long time. He fought hard for his innocence.
Today, I again appear before the TV cameras. I want to look my fellow Americans directly in the eye and declare to them, I am not the anthrax killer. I know nothing about the anthrax attacks. I had absolutely nothing to do with this terrible crime. My life is being destroyed by arrogant government bureaucrats who are peddling groundless innuendo and half information about me to gullible reporters who in turn repeat this to the press under the guise of news.
Arrogant government bureaucrats, did you hear that? And gullible reporters. Sounds pretty familiar. Sounds very, very familiar. Ultimately, they had to apologize to Steve Hatfill and give him several $1 million for his troubles. Now, some of the failures of our government were far more systemic. September 11th, 2001. There are warnings up and down the intelligence system throughout government that there was a problem. But everybody kind of just went to work, did their paperwork, and went home. And then nearly 3,000 people were killed. This was a failure. People failed.
Your government failed you. Those entrusted with protecting you failed you. And I failed you. We tried hard, but that doesn't matter because we failed.
Government can mess up in the most catastrophic and tragic ways. Do you remember where you were when the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded? I was taking a midterm in high school, and they came in and told us that the 7 astronauts were lost, including Kristen McAuliffe, the first teacher to fly in space. Just a minute into the flight, and it exploded. What a horrible moment. But did you know that there were dozens of people, both in private industry and in government, who knew that there was a very good chance that the orbiter would explode for the reason it exploded? The O-rings. They were on the edge of their seat. They knew it could happen. I mean, not just a dangerous space flight and something could go wrong, but that this specific malfunction would happen. And it did. There's actually a very impressive docu-series about this right now on Netflix. Take a look at this.
NASA was always the good guys, the right stuff. You realize they're really rolling the dice.
My dad, he said, I don't care who you tell, the shuttle is going to explode.
3, 2, 1.
How could they let this happen?
How could they let this happen? And how are they letting this happen right now? I don't want to see this in some docu-series 5 years from now about how this election was stolen. It's being stolen right now. We've got to do everything we can to stop it. We've got to do everything we can to stop it. The media, most of them, they're of no help because they've already decided, and on that Saturday after Election Day, they brought out all their bells, whistles. They had all kinds of meetings on how they would make the announcement. And they did it in a big way, and they're not going to take it back. No way.
And this is a CBS News special report. I'm Nora O'Donnell at CBS News, and we are coming on the air with breaking news at this hour. CBS News projects that Joe Biden has been elected the 46th president of the United States. The kid from Scranton becomes the next leader of the free world.
Did you catch that she works at CBS News? I knew I saw it on Channel 2. I know that's CBS. She said it, I think, 6 times. They're not going to take this back. She wore the special outfit. They brought in 2 hairdressers, and that's it. They're too far in. They can't take this back. So what we're hearing right now, they're going to ignore it. They're going to ignore it, and when they have to, they're going to minimize it. They're going to downplay it, and they're going to ridicule those who believe it and ridicule those who are coming forward with their stories because they have chosen their winner. They believe it's Joe Biden. And in many ways, Joe Biden is the perfect person for this moment that they've created. There's Joe enjoying his newfound temporary status. I don't think he's going to be president. I really don't think it's going to happen. I don't know. I feel like it's going to turn. Sorry, Joe, but we'll see. But he is the guy for this moment because early in his career, he told everybody, literally everybody, use me for your purposes. I am corruptible. You don't believe me? He said it out loud like a year after he got to the Senate. I'm not kidding.
You run the risk of deciding whether or not you're going to prostitute yourself to give the answer you know they want to hear in order to get funded to run for that office. See, I went to the big guys for the money. I was ready to prostitute myself in the manner in which I talk about it. But what happened was they said, come back when you're 40, son.
Prostitute himself. He was ready to prostitute himself, and he's prostituting himself. And he's kind of happy about it. Here's the thing. Joe is... he's not a smooth talker, but he thinks he is. And he's one of those guys who thinks he's funnier than he is. And something else. All right, look, am I being harsh? Maybe a little bit, but their side is being really, really harsh. Couldn't believe I saw this moment on CNN and absolutely no pushback. Some woman who's never met the Trumps, but thinks she's an expert about what's happening inside the Trump family. Nobody should say this about anybody's family, but it happened in broad daylight on CNN.
Why is it that no one has been able to successfully intervene in the president's delusions?
Well, you talk about family, and I think it's because the people surrounding him don't love him. They fear him.
Really?
They fear him, and so they cower in his presence. If you love someone, you would direct them to a better path, right? Your wife would take the phone away and say, Brian, this isn't good for you. This will not end well. No one does that because they live in fear of him.
Just, the guy's reaction was, really? Oh, wow, that's, Mom, what a shame. They don't love him? Of course they love him. They're fiercely devoted to their father. I've seen this. There's real love in that family, and just a horrific thing to say, but it's okay when their side says it against Donald Trump. You can say anything against him and get away with it these days. Somebody said something about Donald Trump and his political prospects right now that I disagree with, but I think they came from a good place. I'm talking about Geraldo Rivera, who I actually know and I like. I haven't talked to him in a couple of years, but I do believe he's giving the president some very, very bad advice right now.
I think that the president is on the wrong course here. I think he's got to take a real gut check between now and Saturday, with all due respect. And you know I love the guy, but enough is enough now.
What is this enough is enough? I mean, in America, everybody, binge watches TV and like, okay, we need a new episode and let's go already, let's go. Nothing's happened in 3 days or 3 weeks. No, it doesn't work that way. The president is doing his job. He is protecting the Constitution. He has a duty. Sir, you have a duty right now to pursue what's right and making sure that every legal vote is counted. Fair enough? Fair enough. Good luck, Mr. President. I know that's easier said than done, but you are up for the task.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.